4 Chiblis, so it's going to be kind of cool. Like, okay, now I have to figure out what to do with them. how to make them useful and advertising properly.
Yes. Well, when you figure it out, let me know, because I fail
Yeah.
so bad at the advertising side of things.
Yes. Yeah. It's just
I
like,
don't get it
okay.
either. I'm just
Yeah.
I want someone to like just do it for me, because I just
hmm Right.
but you know,
Exactly. I
I
mean,
just
I'm
have to
getting
build up a chunk of money first. So
exactly. Yeah, it's funny because I started doing Facebook ads, in December, I think. Yeah, and January I had a great month. But now it's February. I think everybody had their Christmas money, and it was like, woo! Now it's like, okay. So, hi everybody.
Yeah, there does seem to be a slump though, usually after Valentine's Day.
Yeah, that's pretty much when I saw the slump, and I'm like, oh, come on.
it's all the love. They're just kind of like, no, we're good.
And Darren's like, what happened? I said, well, I didn't have a release this month. Or I did, but it was the shared set.
Mm-mm.
So I didn't have my own release. And I wasn't sharing all the pretty covers anymore.
Anita says February is romance month. Yep.
Yeah. Yes.
But it's also the shortest month, which is kind of sad.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yes and no. It depends if you have something to look forward to.
That's true. That's
I've
true.
been
He's
counting
going
down
on a
days.
cruise.
Yes, exactly. Which is why I won't be here the next 2 weeks after this. So
Well, we should probably get started. Looks like the gang is all here. We got Anita. Hey, Anita. Hey, Regine. Hey, Cool Gamer. All of our regulars. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. For everybody else, this is Spilling Ink. We are the talk show that takes you behind the book to meet the authors and professionals in the publishing industry. And we have a new to us author to introduce you guys to today. And a little bit of catch up on, what has it been, 2 weeks since we've been on?
Yes.
Cool.
All right. Well, let's get started with our guest first. So, Reina, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, gosh, I have to say something. Well, born and raised in Hawaii. I did spend 4 years in Los Angeles, 4 years in Las Vegas, but I'm back here. And it's kind of hard being an author in Hawaii. I know everyone's like, oh, my heart bleeds for you. But trying to connect with other authors and readers and get to, signings and stuff, it's a little difficult. It's a little bit. So what I did last year and trying this year is like scheduling several signings at the same time or around the same area.
Mm-hmm.
And then just kind of like staying on the big rock, and finding like cheap, Airbnb rentals and, so I can do a few signings instead of one at a time, because flying there and back is a little cost prohibitive when you're just doing one signing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm trying to live in paradise, even though it's really expensive. And one of these days I plan to move to the continent.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, one of my random pet peeves, and this is not like a judgment on anyone, because it's an idiom, right? When people say the lower 48, and I was, and I kind of joke because they never include Hawaii in it.
Right.
But I said, really, it's actually the contiguous 48, because they always keep Alaska and Hawaii out of it. But we are literally the lowest state,
right,
by the earth. So I always get kind of like a little ticked when they go, oh, the lower 48. I'm like, well, then that means
it's like lower
Alaska
49.
Yeah, I'm like, I think you include us. So how about you, not be a jerk about it? Because I know we're the newest state, but we've been here enough to get some notice. But
you're the newest, but you're also probably one of the prettiest.
you were talking about me. You're talking about the state. Okay, sorry.
No. I'm in cold ass New Hampshire. So, I'm almost at the farthest point east from you.
Yeah, it's quite a bit. It's quite a travel.
Yes.
Not to mention the time zone differences too. That's got to be fun.
Yeah, we are literally, and excuse my language, the ass end of the time zones because we're the last ones. Hey, over here, yeah. So not fun, not fun at all.
I
Yes.
struggle just to go with the 4 time zones we have here. I mean, you're what, another 3 hours different from us?
Yeah, we're well 3 or 2 depending upon whether you've fallen back or sprung forward. So that's always
Right.
Yeah.
a thing because we don't change. I think it's
Okay.
us. Arizona doesn't change. There's a few cities somewhere that don't change. So it's
Mhm.
always difficult. Like whenever someone plans like a Facebook
Mhm.
event and they put EST, I'm like, but that at that time of the year you guys are EDT, and they're like, it doesn't matter. I'm like, it matters. It matters because I'm going to be an hour off if I don't know what you're doing. So just take pity on the poor Hawaii person. Help me
Right.
out.
Well, I think this year we spring forward and we don't go back in the fall anymore.
Don't tease
Well,
me. Don't tease me.
I think they were saying that, and I'm like, oh, good, my clock will be right all year round because we don't change the car clocks because we're still like we like that daylight savings time.
and we're just here going, what time is it where you are now?
Right, exactly. 8 o'clock, by the way.
Okay,
It's only 5 o'clock here.
Yep.
it's 3 here, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if we could get rid of daylight savings time, please. I don't know why we need to change. It screws everybody up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I used to do I used to be what's called a cowboy action shooter, which means that I had two single action pistols, a shotgun, and a rifle. We do target shooting and stuff, all dressed up like cowboys. So it's a lot of
Oh,
fun.
wow.
And there was a reenactment group that was in Arizona when I was living in Vegas. And they're like, "Oh, you should come be part of our group." So the first meeting I was supposed to go to, I'm driving, and then I get to the Hoover Dam, and I realized that Vegas and Arizona are 2 different time zones. And I was like, "Well, I think I just missed that meeting."
Well, half the year they're with us, half the year they're against us. That's what I always say.
So it was like it was a nice idea, but honestly, the thought of driving 2 hours each way to get to a rehearsal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. A
It's a bit much.
little lot.
Would have been fun though.
I mean, I wind about 2 hours to the beach.
And I'm right there at the beach. So.
Right, exactly.
Ah,
It's beautiful.
jealous. So jealous.
Well, it's actually a boat harbor. The beach is like a block that way, but this is a nice parking lot where I can sit and stare out.
You stare out and chill out and enjoy.
Isn't it like a
Yes.
proven fact that just viewing the water does help calm you down and relax you?
Well, in the summer, I'm more relaxed than I am in the winter. Do you notice that?
But there's also the lack of sun, though, that can affect you.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
we don't have that
Totally.
problem.
I mean, talking about solar panels earlier, I mean, we thought about it, but it's like, for so many months, it's just not there. It's covered by snow, or, the past couple of weeks it's been gray. So I am looking forward to going to Florida. or like yesterday when we got our eyes dilated at the eye doctor, walking out in the sunshine and the snow, it's like painful, painfully bright.
Sounds like torture.
Yes, I mean,
No
this was our friend. So I mean, it's bright in Hawaii, but not snowblind bright.
No. But we actually the same volcano that just erupted a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
One of the news shows just posted a flyover video of it a few days ago where it's all snow now.
Oh, okay.
So we have snow in Hawaii. It's not on my island.
That's snow ash.
Well, speaking of Hawaii and speaking of being so far removed,
Yes.
Let's talk about how you deal with that as an author. How are you reaching your audience? Are you doing a lot more social media stuff?
I think I'm clueless on social media. But trying to do better. I do have a thing now where I can kind of schedule some posts, because if I wait until I wake up to post things, everyone else is like at the end of their day almost. So it does become a problem. But I think Facebook has been great, where I can kind of get to know readers and other authors, because otherwise, how would I do that? So whenever I get to an actual signing and I get to see people in real life, that I've only met online, it's so nice to actually put to like actually communicate face to face with somebody instead of just over Facebook. But I do have an odd problem. A couple years ago, actually more than a couple years ago, when my son was in middle school, the sight in my left eye like disappeared over 3 days, and it was dark there for a while. And it was this thing where the optic nerve just decided to go on vacation. And they said, you're going to, probably get your sight back in like 6 to 8 weeks. And it was more 6 to 8 months. And now I have this depth perception issue sometimes. So sometimes when I look at somebody, I don't recognize them because, their face shape has changed. Or at least I see it that way. So I tell people, if I've met you before and I see you again and I stare at you like I don't know who you are, please tell me who you are, because I can't decipher it, basically. It's like I'm looking at your face, but I'm not seeing the right shapes and shadows and things like that. So it's a little,
My mother-in-law has macular degeneration, so it's sort of the same thing. She sees half faces and stuff now. So and when and her texts on her phone, I'm like, seriously, letter is that big.
Oh God.
So yes, it's I understand. She lives with us. So
it's okay, like getting around normally, unless I'm going downstairs that don't have like different color edgings on the end of the stairs, because then it just looks like a solid like flooring.
Right. Yeah.
So I have to walk down, like tap my foot against the end of each step before I go down. Otherwise, you're going to see me just plummet down.
That's
go down the fast way.
No,
and my days as a stunt performer are long, long gone. I just be at the bottom of the stairs, like, help me.
Yep. This was not a slide.
Not a slide.
Well, yeah, a slide would be great. I don't think I can deal with the impacts on the way down. So.
Yeah. The tailbone doesn't like that.
Yeah.
I've done that on wooden stairs. Yep.
Yeah, when your foot slips out from underneath you and just boom.
Yep.
The excitement, yes, absolutely.
Yes. Don't need coffee that morning. You're awake.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so how did that affect your writing, or were you writing at that point in time?
I've been writing for years. When everyone asks me, like, how did you start? I started when I was a little kid, and I would read the end of a book, and I'd be like, "That's it." I didn't want to let go of the characters, so I'd like write out little stories, and I didn't realize back then I was writing fan fiction, because fan fiction didn't have a name.
Right.
And just kept doing that through my life, and so thank goodness for my 7th grade typing teacher, Mr. Kusunoki. I can type, home keys. So I just take my computer and, I kind of blow up the the size of everything so I can see, and I just type with home keys. So it's all his fault that I do that. It's all his fault. Sorry, Mr. Kusunoki. But other than that, it really doesn't affect the writing part of it. It's just more that when I'm trying to interact with people, I feel like I probably know more people than I'm recognizing, but sometimes I just can't tell the difference. It's kind of looking at someone like they're, printed on paper, like a photo, instead of in front of me as a 3-dimensional object. So I'm always like, one eye, the other eye. Oh, okay. I feel so bad though, because I'm like, I don't want to make them feel weird, and it's not. It's if I didn't have to do this, I so wouldn't want to do it. But
Yep. Yeah. I haven't gone on any signings in years. Literally years. Because my day job, I'm still working the day job, and it's crazy most of the time. And then I have to take vacation, and it's just. But that's short term now.
I was gonna say retirement's coming up soon for you. Are you gonna ramp up the author side of things, or are you just gonna ramp up the writing?
Possibly both. It depends. I have to have enough coming in to be able to do the outflow. So that's where, as he said, you can spend whatever you come in, on your writing, whatever comes in, but we can't dip into savings.
And advertising is the latest attempt.
Yeah. Latest attempt. I gotta try to tackle TikTok. I keep saying that every week. I keep saying that every week. I keep going. Yeah, it's sort of like the Weight Watchers thing. It's like,
I struggle with that one too. I can't wrap my mind around TikTok. Like I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. TikTok is just like another step too far for me, I think.
Well, I can record myself, but I don't think anybody really wants to see the little old lady just chatting away on the beach or something like that.
Try it, I guess.
Maybe. I did it a few times, and I was like, this is just awkward. It's more awkward than speaking in public is for me. Okay. But it's like, okay, and I want to show off. I want to show off these things on them, like these lovely reveals and things like that. And, woo.
So pretty. Wait, show how thick that book is. Show us how thick it is.
Oh,
wow.
Yes, very thick.
Damn.
So entertaining.
It is the maximum pages that you can have on an Amazon hardcover, but it's got 10 fairy tales in it. So
that's so cool.
Yeah. Thankfully, the last 2 were kind of short.
So it's actually entertaining and able to be used as a self-protection device.
Yes, it could do lots of damage. Yes.
I do not doubt that.
Multi-purpose item.
Yes, exactly.
Now, the only problem is going to be when you do author signings, you're going to have to order a bunch of those, and that's going to be heavy to lug around.
Yeah, I could order those, or I could order the first one in the series. So it's like, okay, because I have those in paperback too. So it's like, do I do the first one in series, or do I do, do I have just a couple of these just to
see? That's the question, and I do that every year when I go to Phoenix, because I've got a pack for what I'm going to take down there for the convention. It's like, okay, do I take just the first in a series? Because if I only have the first one, somebody will want the second and third, and I'll be like, oh, I missed an opportunity to get those books in their hands, and I always end up overpacking. Always, I have so many books on hand. I always over order, and
yeah, I don't think I'd bring all my hardcovers. They're they're backbreaking. So
yeah,
I did this recently, right now. Since November, I've been putting my series compact into one hardcover. So the 10 books are in one. I've got a 6-book one that was a struggle, and I had to go to a bigger. It's bigger than this to get all 6 of them in, because otherwise I would have had to edit out 100 and something pages. Pages, not word. No. And I'm like, no, I can't. So I went to a larger, which I really didn't want to, but it's it's beautiful. But everything else fit the 7x10. So
yeah, because going to signings, I really hope people will take a look at the pre-order form, because I just can't. I mean, like, I get so jealous of people who can, load up their car and drive over, and
Mhm.
I'm flying across, 3,000 miles.
Yeah.
And so I have to find somebody locally where I can mail the Amazon order to them
Mhm.
and like be really apologetic. I'm so sorry. It's has to go to you. And then the hard part is what I have afterwards. The first time that I went to a signing, I was like, oh, well, I'll just put it in my luggage because it wasn't that much back then. But now it's like, I have to schedule my plane for like the second weekday after
Yep.
the signing because on the first weekday, I have to go to the post office and be like, media mail, here you go,
Mhm.
take my
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's just so expensive,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's great when I run out of one book, but then like, oh, I wanted that one. I'm like, but I've got these other books right here.
Mhm.
I promise they're awesome.
Yeah, I would have to figure out which ones I would take. That's the other thing, I I don't have a banner or a table runner, so I need to get those. Those are things that I gotta actually, maybe
Those aren't that expensive though.
stock up on. And then, well, then you have to figure out what book would go on it. Like what book cover?
Well, see, my table runner just has my logo on it.
Yep. Yeah.
I went
Which
simple.
now that I have the Ghibli, I can do something like that. That would be kind of
There
fun.
you go. Yeah.
And I do have the jet fueled fiction, but that's the publishing thing as opposed to
You'll come up with something. You'll come up with
Yeah.
something.
Yep. So, but it's just like, okay, I got to do something like that.
Yep.
And
All
then,
the fun things to plan for you. Table runner. If you're going to bring a book stand,
mhm,
you have like,
yep,
I have the big giant stand that I'll put up.
yep.
And then I have the crates that I can build so I can customize, depending on how much space I've got.
Mhm.
It's a whole thing, but that's been collected over years. I think in
right.
2016 is when I started really getting into doing author signings.
Mhm.
So since then, every year I've been like, oh, I need this. Oh, this would make this better. And I would just
Mhm.
slowly build up what I needed so that now I have way too much stuff.
Yeah,
Well,
my husband pointed out that there's a Comic-Con in Manchester, New Hampshire. And he's like, and I look at the dates, I said, I can't take that off this year. I have 0 vacation time between we have 2 cruises this year and now 3 weddings, not 2, 3, and maybe a 4th. I don't know.
wow.
So yeah, one of them's my son's wedding. So that's exciting.
When is he getting married?
September 21st.
So Allie just planned her wedding date, September 29th.
Okay. Yeah, September 21st is a Thursday. So,
Hers is a Friday, so it's the following Friday after your.
okay, all right. We can talk. We can compare notes.
Oh, there's a story there, let me tell you,
Mhm.
but not on air.
Okay.
Not that kind of story.
Well, there's I found for signings on Etsy. There was a company that made these. They're made out of wood with like clear plastic front, but it's kind of like a display. But it was made for greeting cards.
Ooh.
But it fits like a 5x8 books very
Yeah.
nicely. I have 5x8s, and I was like, oh, so basically it just comes apart in like pieces, and then I just have to put it together like a puzzle. It's really not that
Nice.
hard, and it's like and it folds out completely flat. So I basically stick it in my carry-on, and I can always add some books on top of that carry-on.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not heavy. See, I can lift it. I'm like,
It rolls, right?
it rolls. Yeah, see, that's all it needs. Yeah, so you kind of have to be creative when you're coming a long distance because I've seen all these other beautiful book stands, metal and plastic, and I'm just like, wow, those are really pretty, but I can't bring a like a card.
You can't bring something that's bigger than your your carry on.
Nope, you have to plan for the travel.
Yeah,
Well, that is
exactly.
for table runners and stuff. I've been using Best of Signs, BESTOFSIGNS. Now I do believe they ship from internationally,
Okay.
but the prices are quite good.
festive signs. I'll have to look that up. Yeah.
Look up Got Print
Okay.
as well. They're West Coast, but they're usually pretty quick on shipping, and their prices are also reasonable.
Reasonable.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, even if I had just one table runner and then the one sign, and it would probably be Wicked Heart cover.
And the standing
would have to
banner
be.
will not fit in your luggage, just so you
Right.
know.
Right, 'cause
That's
it's
the one
both-
downside.
Yeah.
Just a little too big to fit in the luggage.
Yeah, so that would just be local. And,
Well-
there's a lot of things locally, but I just haven't had time.
I actually bought one that has aluminum pieces, like, PVC.
Mhm.
But I had my son kind of cut like an inch or two off of each of the, pieces.
Yeah.
And it can fit in my 40-inch duffel.
What?
So it's just big enough, it's just small enough to work as, in the suitcase. And it's really, light. So I basically just have like a couple of different signs. And then I have, the actual sign structure, and that way if I go to two different signings, I can bring like, two different banners. Because, there are ones that are more sci-fi or paranormal based and ones that are more like romantic suspense. So I try to, that's why I find a cheap sign maker because.
Yep.
Right.
Smart.
Right.
Tailor it to the audience you're about to visit with.
So trying,
Exactly.
crossing my fingers, doing the best, but.
Yeah, somebody said her Anita's standing banner came with a bag.
Yep. Mine did too. It's like a little like sling type bag.
Yeah. So
there was a signing that I did in San Diego, and what I didn't realize till I got there, because they didn't really give us the layout, was that we were kind of like our tables were kind of in like a track formation with like the that like open middle area.
Yeah.
If I'd known that, I could have put like a second sign on my sign holder, but facing the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because I was like, well, if I had known that, I would have brought two, but
Yeah, the back to back.
Talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they can see it across the way and go, oh, that's pretty cool, But that was actually one of my signings where I kind of it was my first odd moment with another author, because it's hard to find cover models of like an Asian look. There aren't that many guys that are cover models who are Asian. It's just a thing. Yeah. And living in Hawaii, we do have some pretty hot Asian guys, but I feel weird like, hey, can I photograph you? But anyway. So
no, I need a man chest, please.
So I licensed an image and I put it on a cover, and this author came over to ask me where I got my book stand. And then there were a couple readers who were already there, and she points at the cover and goes, wow, he looks really young. And I was like, okay. And she's like, no, he looks young.
Uh-oh.
And I was like, he's 21 because this photographer doesn't shoot anybody who's underage. And she's like, well, I've got two readers here who are aptly listening to you. Perhaps if you want me to give you the information on where to get my book stand, you might not want to be implying rather heavily that one of my cover models is underage.
Right.
Besides, you would not see those muscles.
Right. Exactly.
Just say. But but also Asian guys tend to look really young.
Yeah, they do.
And she was like, no, that's not. I was like, have you seen any of the K-pop groups? I mean, those guys are like 30. And they look like they're 16. I'm like,
yep. Well, the cover artist Christian Benetton looks like he's a baby face. And he's got to be 30. I don't. Maybe he's older. I don't know.
I need that immortality gene.
Yes.
So sadly, I must not have remembered her email to send her the information where I got my sign. But I felt like, well, thanks.
Yeah.
Because those two readers, after a while, just turned and walked away from me. I was like, oh, thanks.
Oh
Thank
no.
you. Love you too. Right there.
Regine says they're in their 30s. What?
Google
Yeah,
it.
well, or at least in their
Say,
mid
Google
20s.
it. Google's your friend.
Yeah. Because they just look young. Like I've always looked old. Like when I was 13, there were back in the day junior movie tickets if you were like 13 and under.
Yeah.
And I would go to the movies to ask for junior ticket. They'd be like, "You're not under 13," and I'm like, "No, really, I'm under 13." So my mom took me to get a state ID to prove that I was underage so I could get the ticket. My son, who's 25 now, people still card him at restaurants, and he's like, "Here's my ID."
Mhm.
Because he looks young, Unfortunately for him, he got that part of the Asian genes where he looks young. So sorry, babes. Hate to break it to you.
Well, he'll like that when he gets older.
Right.
Because I mean, I'm only 4'10", so between my height and when I was younger, I looked a lot younger. so yeah, I got carded into my 30s. So, and it was funny because when I was at college, well, we'd go in when it was happy hour, and we didn't get carded at happy hour, and we'd stay till close. But yes, and I was underage at that point. So not getting carded was a benefit then.
Like
But
I'm not admitting to this. I'm not. But when I visited Vegas when I was in my teens, I actually played some slot machines, and waitresses kept coming by to offer me alcohol, and I was like, "No, thank you, I'm fine." And there was like, I looked older, so no one bothered me, and I was like, okay. I mean, it's not like I want anything big. It was just, some like nickel slots or whatever. But I was like, wow, hey,
yeah.
cool.
Well, I just admitted to being a bar underage, so I think.
You see, we're fiction authors. This is all just hypothetical ideals. We're just workshopping plot points right now.
Yeah.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah.
Speaking of, what is your latest book release?
Oh, the one that I just did, or the one the one that I just did was claimed by the dad bod. It seems weird when I say it. It's much more exciting when you see it. But
Yes.
I really love those kinds of stories. I mean, those big and burly, gruff guys who know what they want. Like, oh, okay.
Right, like these guys.
Oh yeah. Well, no, those are bears.
Oh, yes.
So yeah.
Oh yeah, I
I
like
just,
it.
I do
Yes.
love a bear
Put
shifter.
those back
I like
up.
all kinds of shifters. Bears are cool. Oh my God, what's so funny?
I made her put them back up.
He's like, put it back on. Yes, ma'am.
The first book was the first time I got like a really bad like review, and I read it through and I kind of sat there pondering because she said that the female character was, and I didn't know what this meant, TSTL, and I had to look
too
it
stupid to live.
Yeah, too stupid to live. And I was like, okay, well, let me think about it because I don't want to write those kinds of characters, and we have a lot of weird, excuse my language, asshole people in my family, like people who literally tried to kill other members of our family, kind of.
Okay, all right.
So in the story, yes, she's in a little bit of danger because her cousin, who's been kind of raised to be like, so self-important, wants everything for her, and so she kind of decides, maybe if I get rid of this dumpy cousin, it'll be fine. So the first time she gets in trouble, okay, I get it, but then she does, her cousin calls her near the end and says, and of course I'm going to give away the whole story here, so sorry everybody. Plug your ears if you don't want to hear it, but she does go to help her because, in our family, no matter how bad these people are, when they say please help, you
go.
Help.
Yes.
And so she did go, yes. She didn't take her hot bear shifter guy with her. But when her cousin tries to do something stupid again, she tases her cousin because the youngest of the 3 bear brothers had taught her how to use a taser to protect herself. And so I thought, well, okay, I mean, she went to see her cousins. That was stupid, admittedly. But it wasn't like she was too stupid. She did actually protect herself, right? And so I'm sitting there going,
Right.
I mean, it was like a thought process for me, But,
Yes.
but also, it was my first 1 star, so I basically got to claim bingo.
Yep. Bingo,
And I
yay.
think, well, I mean, a lot of people get really upset about, other ratings than 5, and I'm like, hey, you know what? It's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how great a story it is, no matter how many people tell you, oh my God, I love this, is my favorite, there's always going to be someone who's like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. So I just decided to make myself a bingo card.
Yeah.
So when I get, at least one review in each category, it's like, I win, so it's kind of my way of not getting too depressed about it, I guess.
Yeah, my
a good
earlier
way to look
stuff,
at it.
yeah, my earlier stuff was polarizing. The survival game series was very polarizing because it was very brutal. Same with my Steve Williams FBI series. Oh yeah. So either people loved it and couldn't get enough of it, or they hated it and wanted to, thought I had something wrong with my head, which admittedly I might.
Well, don't all authors have something wrong in our heads?
Probably. Not that
Yeah.
we'll admit to it, though.
Well, true. But, when you have enough voices in your heads,
You have the multiple lives things going on.
actually, when I first started to work for, I won't say who it is, because after I started this one job, my boss was so irritating that I actually went to a therapist because I was having such a hard time dealing with him
Mhm.
and his demands and his nasty comments and things like that. So I went to a therapist. You're doing the, intake interview. And so she's asking you the questions. And then she gets the question, which I was dreading, which is the, do you hear voices? And I'm like, okay,
Nope.
I am here for help. So if I'm going to get help, I need to be honest.
Yeah.
So I looked her in the eye and I said, yes. And oh my God, she leaned forward. Her eyes got wide. And she says, what do they tell you? And I was like, well, they don't really tell me anything. They talk to each other. And I write it down. And she goes, no. Do they tell you to hurt people? And I said, well, each other. I write them hurting each other. And she's like, no. Do they tell you to hurt other people? And I'm like, no, it's not like that. I'm an author. And she's like, oh. And she kind of sat back and she just kind of like looked off. And I was like, maybe I ought to see
Is that like
somebody else. I know, she was like so excited. She's like, my doctorate, my.
Yeah.
She was trying to fill her bingo card out.
Here.
Yeah.
All right, speaking of, is
Yeah.
this it?
Yes.
Yeah, the one in the middle is the newest one. Yes.
Woohoo! Sorry, you said it and I had to go find the covers.
Yes. Yes.
Gotta love it. And the thing is, okay, random story. I was at a signing in Florida, and a bunch of us had gotten together near the hotel bar, and we're having a good time and talking about books. Oh, shocker!
Mhm.
And as I went to go pay the bill, there was a couple sitting at the bar, and the woman said, "Oh, I'm sorry to bother, but what are you ladies doing over there? You're having such a wonderful time." And I said, "Oh, we're all here for a romance book signing." And the man next to her goes, "Oh, sir," I said, "Do you mind me asking what the O is for?" And he goes, "You're the women that give other women unrealistic expectations of relationships." And I was like, "Sir, I'm about to give you the best advice you've ever had." And he goes, "Right." And I said, No. The abs on the cover, I said, we all know it's fantasy, but we're allowed to have our little fantasies. I said, but what you're missing is that inside the book, you have a man who is so devoted to his woman that he will do what it takes to make her happy. and making her happy, she makes him happy. And he looks at me, he's like, oh, and she's like, listen, honey. I'm like, because it's not about him like tossing you on the bed and doing all that stuff. It's like paying attention to what makes you feel good, both in the bed and in your, normal life. So I said, sir, if you can just pay a little more attention and, do what it takes to make her happy, I am sure she will repay that to you in spades.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, listen to her. And I'm like, see, that's all it is. It's not unrealistic expectations. It's just saying, hey, there's this little thing you can do, which is being invested in your relationship that will go and, make it even better. And I don't know if he listened to me or not, but
she was happy you told him that.
I mean, she's probably told him something similar along the lines, like, you don't ever listen to me. And he's like, honey, I listen to you. She's like, no, you don't. Yep. And that kind of ends up the thing, right? Just takes a little bit of interest. And, I know that I've always really responded to, positive reinforcement, right? If he listens to me, I mean, I'll listen to him no matter what, but it's always nice when it when it comes back to you, and then you're more, eager to give it back. So I don't know. I'm thinking if guys paid a little bit of attention, but
Regine says, treat women as humans?
Stalker.
Anti-American.
No.
Well, I mean, I think guys have been taught to, suck it up, don't cry, be the man, da 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 da. But what it really is like, it's two humans in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That's totally all it is, And yeah, you're going to cry in front of your partner. You're going to be happy in front of your partner, and if you can communicate, God bless. I mean, isn't that what we all want? Is to not feel alone, because you can be with with somebody else and feel lonely.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
So I think just so I really like to write those little moments where it's like he takes her hand, because sometimes that's more than stripping down and having sex. Sometimes it's being there when it counts and being supportive and oh my God, actually like caring how your partner's feeling.
Yep.
How weird. Yeah.
I agree with Regine. Toxic masculinity is a terrible, terrible thing.
Yes.
And I think the current generation is a bit better about this. They're starting to at least push back on that.
Right.
But
there's
a long ways to go.
Well, I was sitting in I have a degree in technical theater, so I'm raking the butts. No, just kidding. I have the degree, and well, there you go. But I used to help with my son's theater productions in school, and I was listening to the girls one day who didn't realize that I was his mother.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh my God, he's so gay." And I was like, what are you talking about?" "Well, he's so nice." And I'm like, wait. So he's nice to you? Yeah, so he must be gay. Oh, so what are heterosexuals guys like? Oh, they're assholes.
Oh no.
And I just kind of sat there going,
oh my gosh.
Meanwhile, my daughter, the man my daughter is marrying at the end of the year, he goes out and gets pedicures with her because he wants to.
Yeah.
He's happy to have somebody to go get pedicures with. It's literally, he was the one who introduced the idea. And she's like, you really like that? Let's do it.
Yes.
Pedicures, they'll do manicures, they'll do hair. I mean, they're so adorable together.
And actually, well, my son, who's who they said was gay, he liked to dress up, suspenders and ties, and he looked nice. He was polite to people. He opened doors. He listened to them when they had problems, and of course, their boyfriends always hated him. And the girl's like, "It's okay, he's gay." And I'm like, "Oh." But I just didn't understand, like, this whole equation with if they're an asshole to you, they're heterosexual. I thought, wow, you girls really need to like open those eyes.
Well, that
Right.
comes from that whole stereotype of he's picking on me because he likes me. When you're,
Yeah.
Yeah.
back to the schoolyard playing between boys and girls. It's like, no, that does not equate liking you. And that is not how you treat somebody you like.
No, but it's really weird.
It was the opposite for my son. I told you that story, right, Katie?
I think you have.
I'll tell you, Reina. My son was in grade school, and this girl choked him on the bus.
Okay.
Yeah. So he went up to her at lunch and just gave her a kiss. Randomly, just boom. and I got the call. He's not supposed to kiss girls. And she never choked him again. She left him alone. But that was his, I guess, answer to it, because maybe he, if they treat you like that, they like you, and I'm like, no. Normally it's not the way it is.
It's true.
I did have to talk to him about that. I'm like, you can't just randomly kiss girls. And to this day, or to the time that he met his fiance, because of this talk, he always asked them if they were allergic to peanut butter. Because I said to him, what if it had been Olivia, our neighbor, who is deathly allergic to peanut butter, that you went up and kissed?
Oh,
You could have killed her. So for every girl he dated from then on, before he started dating them, he asked them if they were allergic to peanut butter.
What are your allergies?
So he said, are you allergic to peanut butter? And then it was like, okay. Or yes, okay, well.
He could have gone to them, with like a worksheet to fill out. Likes, dislikes, allergies.
That was the weirdest question anybody ever asked me.
But it's a smart question.
Yes, because my son loves peanut butter.
That would be a problem.
Yes. So I mean, and it works both ways. And I had to sit him down and say, no. don't you watch the romances that your sister watches? Don't you understand what girls want? They don't want to be treated like shit. So, yes.
Sad but true.
Yes.
my son is still in
So,
the
I mean,
oblivious phase.
Son right too. So, yeah.
And he doesn't like anyone at all.
Oh.
He has his eyes set on a girl that has been friends with since he was like 3.
Mhm.
She's his girlfriend in his mind. And they're still friends and all, but they don't go to the same school. They're not even living on the same side of town. They see each other only online, but she is his girlfriend. So any other girl that talks to him is just annoying.
Oh.
And there have been little girls over the years. They're like, "Hi, Hunter," and I'm like, "Oh my god, she likes you." He's like, "Yeah, whatever." So oblivious. He just doesn't see it.
Yeah.
And then there's Zoe.
Yeah, Zoe's just a wild one.
You ever gonna get married or have a boyfriend? Hell no, I don't want to do that. Boys are dumb. Quote unquote.
But when the switch turns in her, she's going to be a wild one. She knows how to take them down.
She's gonna be dangerous.
Yes. Yes, she is.
I post the reels occasionally on Instagram because that's kind of where I've just navigated to, of highlights of her MMA fights because she takes an MMA class.
Wow.
It's fun to watch her. It's really so much fun to watch her, especially when she executes a move just perfectly.
Mhm.
Like I've only seen MMA fights when I go to Buffalo Wild Wings because it's always on the screens.
Yeah.
And my son and I turned one day and we're like, isn't it weird that when guys do MMA fights, they spend most of the time like locked together, laying on the ground, and when women do MMA fights, they're beating the the stuffing out of each other. And he's like,
You
yeah.
can say that word. We're
That's
not
weird.
PG. Yeah,
Sorry, I'm like, should
that's
I
okay.
say that? But it's weird because the girls are all over the ring and they're punching and kicking and and then the guys that like grapple with each other and roll on the ground, and then the referee separates them and they do it again. And my son's like, wow, the women are so much more interesting to watch because they're actually fighting rather than just kind of like rolling around on the ground in their tights. And I'm like, yeah, well,
The rolling around is actually pretty hard. I take the classes too, so I get squished quite often. I like get off, I can't breathe. but yeah, there is a definite difference in the girls versus guys. Like girls are scrappers.
Yeah, I was like, wow, you go, girls, awesome. Of course, I'm going, not me, thanks, no.
Yeah.
Back in the day, maybe, but no.
Yeah. I break now. I'm just a little too.
Part of why I started to actually publish was because I was helping my mom take care of her parents for like almost 6 years, and helping with my grandfather, who's quite, like he wasn't fat, but he was large. He used to be an ex-high school tackle, so he had the big broad shoulders and everything. And we hired a nurse because I was starting to hurt myself. And the nurse they sent was like teeny tiny. And so when I would take care of him, because he was bedbound, I'd bring the bed all the way up so I wouldn't have to lean over too far. And then she came and she was like the tiniest thing I'd ever seen. And she's like, you're going to have to help me roll him. I can't roll him. And I'm like, then why are we hiring somebody, who can't take care of him? So I lowered the bed for her and I rolled over and I felt a pop in my back.
Oh.
Oof.
And then I was trying to get my orthopedic doctor to like do a scan. He wouldn't do a scan, just kept sending me to, physical therapy. And I tell him, yeah, it doesn't work for long, and it took him 3 years to send me for a scan to realize that I literally destroyed a disc in my back. And that's why I was having trouble walking. So I knew that, once they got beyond, our ability to care for them, and, they had to go to nursing home.
Right.
Well, I couldn't really go back and work the jobs where that I was doing before, where I was walking around, because I was an education specialist at different museums, and I do tours and stuff, which, by the way, for an introvert like me was like big stuff,
Yes.
Hundreds of people. I'm like, hey, here's the show. But then I said, well, I could write, because I've always been, writing and all this kind of stuff. And so I did some short form, like sci-fi steampunk stories. And did either of you ever watch a TV show called The Young Riders, late 80s, early 90s?
A long time ago.
Yeah, Josh Brolin, Steve Baldwin. I wrote fanfic for that show for over 20 years.
Okay.
And I got to know most of the cast, and I got to know the guy who actually created the show. And one day we're talking on the phone. He goes, Ray, sweetie, do me a favor. Go and write your own stuff and publish it so you can make money. And I was like, but I really like, he says, you've written like 500 stories for my show. You need to do this for yourself. And I was like, okay. So I put out my first romance, and I was like, because I had always read it, I just never thought about writing it. And I was like, why not? Hello.
Right.
Because I read enough of it. So there you go. But yeah, it was so funny. And now whenever he calls me, he's like, how are you doing? I tell him, he's like, I'm so proud of you. And I'm thinking, how weird is it that a man told me to go write romance? It's kind of neat.
Oh, yeah.
But you got that nod of approval and that push in the right direction.
Yeah, so it's he's kind of like my writing dad.
I like that.
My biological dad, but he's always supportive and all this kind of stuff. And he's the guy who created the show Kung Fu with David Carradine.
Oh, I love that show.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. And so he tells me, he goes, yeah, they're doing a version of it on CW now. He says, but it's different. It's like I think I'd like it if I was a teenage girl. And I said, Ed, it's the CW.
Yeah,
Meant for them.
that's their target audience.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Then. And I'm like, yeah, it's CW. It's like, Teen Wolf and, I mean, of course, the adults like it too, but it also,
Yes.
for, the teens. And he's like, oh,
Mhm.
okay then. Like, all right then.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's really interesting to, have that as my inspiration to finally, not really get off my butt, more like get on my butt and actually write this stuff.
Mhm.
Sometimes you need that though. You need that nudge in the right direction to do it, because it's a scary thing to actually put your work out there for the public.
Yeah, because nobody likes the negative reviews and stuff, but it's always nice to see somebody, pop up and just say, oh my God, I love that book. And I'm like, you made my day.
Mhm.
And then as you get older and more experienced, the negative reviews don't bother you as much as they did initially.
Yeah, now I don't even read them. I'm like, no, I don't need that in my life.
Sometimes I'll read them. I'll go back and I'll look through them, because occasionally there are nuggets to pull from it,
True.
or things that maybe they didn't like the way something happened, but it's fodder for another story that I can tweak into something different. So I still look at them. I just don't let them bother me as much as I used to, because everybody's going to hate something. You can go to your favorite book and look, and there's going to be negative reviews for it.
Yeah. But, back then when I actually did look at the reviews, if somebody was really like a 2 or a 1, I'd go and I'd look at their other reviews and I'd be like, oh, they give 2s and 1s to everybody. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah, professional haters.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, cool. I mean, hey, I got one of her like top ratings.
That's a good way to look at it. That
Yeah,
is a really good way to look at it.
You kind of have to make something positive out of negative, I think. But I spent a lot of years, as somewhat of the target for a lot of bullies in school, mainly because I was a really tall girl. When everyone else was cute and adorable, I was like the gangly, taller one.
Mhm.
And I spent years thinking, back then, because they called me fat, and I was like, oh, okay. And then now looking back at the pictures, I'm like, I wasn't fat. What the hell? But it's that like, body positivity thing. And, since I had the back injury, I'm not able to move around as much. And so it's trying to find ways to like, keep the weight off and all this, which doesn't always work, but.
Yeah, I'm sort of round down here. So yeah, that's why I said I'm doing Weight Watchers. So it's just like I just started that, and the point system is just maddening.
And I go get my
all
ass
the
kicked
Girl
every
Scout
week.
cookies.
I know my son came in the door today. He goes, Mom, I bought you a box of Thin Mints. And I said, okay, give me one a day. And he's like, okay. I'm like, thank you.
Mhm.
That's
I could
restraint.
sit there and scarf the whole thing down.
Right, exactly. Exactly. I get the s'mores, and it's just like, oh. And we have all the lemon cookies, which, now I'm looking at the thing, I'm like, oh, I can't have a lemon cookie yet.
Well, then, and
maybe I won't have lunch and have a lemon cookie.
And he said they're taking credit cards now.
Oh, wow.
Tables. And I was like, whoa, back when I was a Girl Scout 20,000 years ago, we had to deal with cash and change, and we all had to do it ourselves. We had to learn. And now they're doing credit card machines. I'm like, I feel so old.
Where was that when I had to be Cookie Mom?
I know.
No.
That would have been so helpful when I was Cookie Mom.
Yes, because checks and cash are just like a pain in the butt to carry around.
Girl Scouts got it easy these days.
I know. It's like, what the heck, guys? Come on.
I mean, not only do they have the built-in customer base, you just say Girl Scout cookies, and they're like, yes, please.
Yep.
Now they can take credit cards, man.
Well, and there was that Girl Scout that like parked her table outside of a weed dispensary, right? And sold like a couple hundred boxes, and her counsel like got mad at her, and I was like, hey, it's all marketing.
Right.
Think about it. The girl was, brilliant.
Yes.
Right?
That was brilliant.
Because the dispensary is legal marijuana, right? It's
Mhm.
legal.
No
They have
customers.
Yeah, so she wasn't doing anything, like dirty or naughty, she was just like,
Right.
there's an audience right here.
Location and opportunity.
Thank you. I mean,
That
that
is
is
a
a
straight
smart
shooter with
girl.
upper management written all over her.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. So I'm like, why are you scolding her instead of saying, my goodness, that was brilliant?
Right, exactly.
You
It's
know?
like my daughter in the money machine in school. She sold enough stuff to get into the money machine for the
Okay.
school. And she figured out how to do it. So they had to stop her like halfway through her time because she almost took all the money. And then the next few years, by the time my son got there, they had changed the entire way they did it because of my daughter. My daughter came out with like $120
Yes.
from the money machine because she figured out how to do it. So like she knelt down and grabbed all the stuff off the floor and shoved it. So yes,
Well,
it's like
but
she thought of a way around
That's
just
right.
grabbing from the air.
hey, it makes but it makes sense. If you think about it, like when my son first started at Cub Scouts, because I was an education specialist, so they tapped me to like be in charge of like Cub Scout summer day camp.
Yep.
And you have to go to training and all this, and so they told us you're not allowed to be rude to the scouts. You can't call them names and embarrass them in front of their family. I'm like, okay, I know. I mean, I used to be a preschool teacher, so yeah, okay. And so we got to this part where they're teaching us games to do, and one of the games they gave us all a feather, and they said the game is you blow on the feather and you keep it in the air, and the one to keep it up in the air the longest wins. And so I thought, and I said, okay, I just have a question. So the idea is hold the feather, blow on the feather, don't let it fall. She says, yeah. I said, that's all the rules? She said, uh-huh. The guy next to me looking at me, he's like, I think he knew what I was going to do. And she said, okay, go. And I just held the feather. And she goes, you're cheating.
No.
And I said, sorry, did you just emotionally abuse me in front of my peers?
Oh,
Because they told us not to do that. And she's like, that's not funny. And the guy next to me goes, she followed your rules. Hold the feather, blow on the feather, don't let it fall. You didn't tell her she had to let go. She's like, well, you're supposed to know that.
nope.
Yeah, no. Yep.
You followed the instructions to the letter.
Yep, exactly.
Sorry, I mean, but I'm one of those, like, let's think this through. Okay, how does this work? How are we going to bend the rules?
Yep. How are you going to make it work for me?
Yes. I didn't know how to win otherwise, but I didn't break the rules. I swear to God, I didn't break the rules.
Yep.
Yeah, she didn't like me. She didn't like me ever after that. There was like, I think I was there for another like 7 or 8 years through all the Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts and things. Every time she saw me at an event, she was, and walk away. I'm like, wow, okay, talk about, childishly holding on to a grudge. All right, lady, whatever you want. Maybe I'm evil and don't know it.
You never
That's
know
okay.
it when
You
you're
can
evil.
exercise your evil on the page.
Yes.
The beauty
Well,
of
that's
being
kind
an
of half
author.
the fun, right? You get to kill off people, so you imagine that they're like
Yes.
people who've wronged you, and you're like, oh, this is so satisfying.
Oh,
Yes, it is.
yes.
Yes,
Jane knows all about that.
I do. Yes, I do. I'm a little like George R.R. Martin. Nobody's safe in my books.
I have a beta reader who goes, you always use like the same 3 names for guys who are villains when you're writing it, and then you change it before you publish it. I said, yeah, because those are 3 guys that have done me wrong in the past, and it's just easier to write them.
Yep.
And then I just do the search and find and replace. And she's like, oh, it's so and so again. I'm like, yep. But
That's
it's
funny.
it's easier to focus on it, because you're like, that's his name, okay. And then I find another name to change it to at the end, and I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
That is a brilliant author tip. I like
Yes, that is.
All right, well, we are actually almost 5 minutes
sorry.
over
Oh.
showtime. This has been such a good
That's okay.
conversation.
Sorry.
I know people have
talk
places
too
to
much,
go
so.
and families and all that stuff. So we're going to have to wrap it up. So before we do, Reina, is there anything that you want to let the audience know? Any things that you're running, any specials or any signings you'll be doing soon?
Oh, signings. I'm going to Charm City Romanticon in Ellicott City, Maryland. And then after that, I take an Amtrak train. For the first time, I'm taking this long Amtrak ride to Denver for Readers Take Denver.
Ooh,
And then
Awesome.
I'll come back in the middle of the year for a couple things in Florida, like Flirty in Tampa and Space Coast. And
Cool.
then what else? Oh, and then I have Sultry in the City in Houston. And then I'll be going to Albuquerque, New Mexico for CalypsoCon. So I have a few signings this year, but it's just going to involve a lot of me finding cheap Airbnbs in between.
oh yeah.
Spend my time. But yeah, I tend to write like I don't know if you saw my logo, but it's like a bee. It's like a bee with a queen with like a crown on it, and mainly because I like to write all over the romance genre. You know, from sweet to heat and paranormal and normal and all those other things. And Reina is actually, of course, not my real name. But when I was in college, I took flamenco dancing classes. You know, so I did the whole long dress and everything. And the teacher that I had, you know, had to give us a performance name. And so he called me Reina because he said I had a regal presence on stage. So that was the queen. That's why I have that
Nice.
queen bee logo. Because I'm not saying I'm the queen bee of romance, because that's not it. It's just, you know,
Own it. Own it.
Own it.
I feel weird about being like, look at me, I'm the queen. But I'm just like, you know, I love to write whatever catches my fancy, and that's a varied, you know, cavalcade of different, you know,
Same
things.
here. So
Write the book you want to read. That's the advice that we always give other authors. Write what you would like to read.
Exactly. But anyway, sorry for yammering on forever.
Oh no, it's been fun.
No, this has been fun. And for all of our audience, links to find her are in the show notes below. So you can go and visit her Amazon, her webpage, and her Facebook page.
And don't be afraid to like message me if you want to ask questions or anything, because I mean I may have the right answer. But you know, I mean I don't mind answering questions or, you know, anything along those lines, because, you know, I'm an open book. No, just kidding.
You're accessible, which is great.
That's perfect.
So,
all right. Well,
yes.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and I hope someday in the future to come back, especially if you do drinking, because I'll be there.
We might have to do that. We will keep you in mind.
Have to do drinking with authors again.
And we will be back in 2 weeks. Is that correct?
Actually, we'll be back on March 18th, because next weekend and the weekend after I'm in
Cruise.
I'm on a cruise.
Cruise. So you're gonna be packing me in your suitcase? Is that what this is?
Yeah. So we'll be back on the 18th with
Awesome.
CD Corey, because she couldn't be here tonight because her son was in the basketball finals.
Oh,
So she's at the finals, and she,
awesome.
you know, yep.
Awesome.
I said, do you want me to reschedule? She said yes. So we did it for the March 18th.
Important.
Right.
That's important.
Thank you.
All right,
So
guys. We will see you on March
in
18th.
a few weeks.